Alrighty, so we left off right here. I didn't make any change yet. So for the second part, what I'm thinking is we're actually going to go ahead and create the basic layout of what our application will look like, right? So again, so just the grids and the containers, sorry. So to start with, we're going to do that inside the app.js. Let's get rid of that. Let's open that again, and then have that on the side. So inside the app.js, we want to import. Do we need any of this? I don't think we need any of this. So let's get rid of that. I want to surround everything with a container, and the container it comes from Material UI. So if you wait for a second, it's going to give you that hint. If it doesn't come up, just import it yourself right there, right? So we're going to surround everything with a container. And inside the container, so remember, just to recap, the container is what adds the margin to the left and right based on the screen size. The more you zoom, the more the smaller the screen becomes, the lesser the margin is going to be, right? So anyway, so that's the margin, and then we're going to have a grid. So I'm not sure if you guys know what a grid is, but if you don't, how do I clear everything? White. No, that doesn't work. Let's put a white box on top. Fill it with white. Wait, you know what? I'm just going to close this and start again. Panes. Okay, so let's say we have a home page, right? Let's say this is our page. Okay, so let's say that's our page. By default, if we're using a grid layout, from the start, okay, so from the start, that's an arrow, to the end, the page is divided into 12 columns. So these are rows, right? And these are columns, right? So this is column 1 there, column 2 there, and that's row 1 and row 2 there, right? So by default, our page is divided into 12 columns. That's how grid layout works, right? So I'm not sure if this is going to be 12, but let's assume this is like 12 total, right? Ignore that. So let's assume all of this add up to 12, right? So by default, we're going to have 12 columns total, right? So, and for every, let's say in here, for example, I have a component. So we're going to use a grid component, right? So so let's say we have this component. Sorry if I'm stuttering a lot, but let's say we have this component and we have this section here, right? So I'm going to divide this into, wait, let me think here. So we're going to have a container, right? Let's say the container adds a grid of 2 columns on each side, okay? So adds a grid of 2 columns on each side. So that's going to be the margin. So this margin right there, right? So this margin right there, okay? So we're going to ignore that, right? So the only remaining space we have to work is this remaining space in here, right? So if you look at my mouse, right? So every element or nested element or sub element has its own 12 columns as well, right? So let's say we give this element a grid column of 1, right? So a box of 1. So that's going to be the profile section, this part here. And then we're going to give the remaining elements the entire page, right? So the entire page, the remaining elements. I'm not sure if I'm speaking right? So the entire page is going to be that remaining element, right? So let's say this is going to be the grid of 2, and 12 minus 2 is 10, right? So this is going to take up the grid of 10, right? And in here, so if you look at this, in here, for example, let's take this page here, right? So this page in here has a grid of 12 as well. So every element is divided into 12. So imagine this has a grid of 12 as well, right? So we're going to give this part here a grid of 6. So we're going to divide it into 2, right? So we're going to have a resume, a working history section, and a resume, an education section. That's going to take a grid of 6 each. Well, I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but once we code it, you're going to see it, right? But basically, every page has a grid of 12, right? A grid of 12, and every element has a grid of 12 as well. So this element has a grid of 12, and we're going to divide that 12 and give it each, like this timeline and this timeline there. So, damn. Let's go ahead. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the container, right? Inside the container, we're going to have 2 columns. So we're going to call it grid. So we're going to have to import grid as well. So it's going to import grid from Material UI. We're going to call this a grid container, and I'm going to explain why. So the grid, so by this grid, we're actually defining, or we're telling it that inside this container, put everything inside a grid layout. So CSS grid layout, right? And inside the grid layout, we're going to have a grid item, right? Wait, paints again. Sorry about this. If you know all of this, you can just skip it, really. But let's say we have that as a container, okay? And every column is going to be an item. You get it? So all the columns are surrounded by one container. Do you get it? So if, for example, we have a column, so we say we have a div, right? Div, and then we give it a column of 12. A column of 12. So that means it's going to take up the entire space, all 12 columns. And then if we have another div and give it a column of 2, okay, let's say we give it a column of 2. So now there's no space anymore in here, so it's going to go into the next line and take up 2 columns right there. All right, give me a second. Yeah, sorry guys, I just went to get some water. But anyway, so that explains the grid, I think. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a grid container, which is going to be the surrounding element, and then we're going to divide this thing here. So if you look at the way this works, on a bigger screen, you're going to not like look at the size of the right side, right? On a bigger screen, it's going to be that size, but as the screen gets smaller, it's going to decrease in size as well. Like, did you see that? So look at that and look at that. Right? So we're gonna like try and copy like exactly what they do in here. So let's close that. No, I don't want to minimize that. Let's go back here. So I'm gonna have 2 grid items. So the one here and the other one, right? So sub that grid item. I'm gonna give it let's close that first. So I'm gonna say when it's a screen size of large, let's have that as take it up as 3 columns, right? And when it's a screen size of 4, so when it's a screen size of medium, let's have it as let's have it as 4, right? But if it's the screen size of small, okay, so if you don't define anything, by default it's going to take all of the space available, right? But I'm just going to say it. So we have 4 different sizes. We have small, we have extra small, which is a mobile size. We have small, which is a tablet size, and then we have medium and large, and XL as well, which are all different desktop sizes, right? So let's define this in order. Sorry if I'm kind of slow right now, but it's going to get better, I promise. So we're going to have XS is going to take everything, SM is going to take everything, MD is going to take 4, and LG is going to take 3, right? So that's going to be this part here. And let's create another grid item. So grid item. Okay, let's give this let's say it should take up the remaining space, right? So if you just define XS, for example, it's just going to take up the remaining space, right? So if I write something in here, ABC and XYZ and save that, let's see what happens. So let's open our application, close that, React application. Oh, we have to wait, it's compiling. Okay, so do you see what happened? Wait, what we can do is we can have a style. So you don't need to do this right now, right? Style. Let's have a background color of blue. Okay, and for the second one, I'm gonna have it as red, so you can differentiate, right? Then save that. So we're gonna see what happened, right? So we have a container that margins up everything. Remember, right, on the left and right. And then we have two columns, right? So column 1 is this part here, right? And column 2 is this part here, right? So everything. So column 1 is defined as 3 spaces on a large and 4 on a medium. And column 2 is going to take up the remaining space, right? Which is just XS, or you can just do something like XS auto, which is the same thing really, right? So that, what else? Wait, give me a second. Yo, hi. Sorry about the constant pausing. I had to do something, but hopefully, wait, where are we? Gonna, we don't need that. That's up on that. All right, so this is where we left off, right? So what we're gonna do next is actually plug in all the pages and components. We're not gonna fully create them, but just plug it in onto the main section, right? So let's put that back there, and let's go here. So for the left side, right? For the left side, we're gonna have a component. Remember, so this is gonna be a component which we named profile, I think. So components, we call this profile, right? So we're gonna create a profile, plug that in here. Profile. Okay, if we need to pass in props, we'll do that later, but we're gonna have a profile in there. We're gonna have, so that's just gonna be the left side. For the right side, there's gonna be a header. Header, and we haven't created this yet. We're gonna do it next, but there's gonna be a header. There's gonna be a portfolio. So how do you spell it? Portfolio. Okay, so there's gonna be a portfolio. There's gonna be a resume, and then there's gonna be a footer. That. So we're gonna have the header. We're gonna have the resume and portfolio, and then we're gonna have the footer, right? But do you guys realize one thing? Wait, let's go ahead and create the basic versions of this. So let's start with the profile. Let's go into profile. Let's create a new file. So we're gonna call this profile.js, right? And then I'm gonna create a. I'm gonna use a snippet here. So I'm gonna write R and RFCE. Save. So if you don't know what I just did, if you're new to programming, sorry, new to React, I'd recommend you write this all down yourself. It's gonna be a good habit, which is gonna make you get used to it, and then understand everything better. But if you want to know what I did, I used a snippet, React snippet plugin. So if you go into extensions, and then if you search for React, and the second one, if you just install that, you're gonna have a list. You're gonna have access to a list of different snippets. So the way you use them is if you go to their documentation or their GitHub, or I think just here, yeah, just here, you're gonna see all the different commands, right? But basically, I typed in R, and then I get, these are all the snippets that I get, and I like using this one, RFCE, which is gonna create a functional component. You guys should know what a functional and class-based component is, but it's gonna create a functional component, gonna import React, create us a basic template, and export it as well. I'm gonna save that, and I'm just gonna write in this is a profile component. So I'm gonna do for now, right? So we have a profile component. Let's go back to our app.js, and we're gonna have to create a header. So let's go to the header folder, create a new file called header.js, and then just R again, and RFCE. This is a header, and my typing is so bad. Header component, let's close that. We don't need the profile as well for now. We don't need that, we don't need that. So let's go ahead and do the portfolio, resume, and footer. So the footer is still under the components. Footer.js, make sure it's uppercased, right? So RAFCE, enter, and this is the footer, save, close that, and then portfolio and resume. So the portfolio and resume are in different pages. Remember we had the first structure. Oh, I closed that, but you can go refer back. I should have saved that, but you can go back and refer to the video. But the profile and resume are going to be different pages, while the rest are going to be components, right? So let's go into pages. Let's go into profile, new file, portfolio.js. Why is it so hard for me to spell? And then into the resume, resume.js. Let's do RAFCE, resume page, save, and then portfolio RFCE. Okay, portfolio page, portfolio page, save. Okay, so let's import everything into the app.js. We have all of this, but we haven't imported them yet, right? Wait, forget what I'm doing. I just like having that as at the top, but forget that. Anyway, so let's import everything. So the way I like to structure the app is all the imports first, like different components or libraries, and then the CSS files last. That's just the way I like it. It's a personal preference. So let's go ahead and import the profile. So let's say import profile from, let's go back. No, wait, we don't need to go back. So let's go there into the components, and then profile and profile.js. You don't have to write the JS. So copy, paste, paste, paste. We have a header and a footer component. So header, 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 footer, 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 copy, paste, paste. So portfolio, 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 and resume, oops, resume, 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 and these two are gonna come from pages. So pages, right? Oh, by the way, to select multiple items, you just use the Alt key. So select that, press Alt, select that, and you can edit them both together. Or if you wanna go here and let's say there, so you select that with an Alt key, space, and it's gonna tap in both places. But okay. Anyway, so I guess we've imported everything. Hopefully we should have no errors, and let's try and run that. There we go. So we have a profile component, we have the header that comes at the top, right? And then the footer at the bottom, and these two. But here's the thing, right? By default, we want to show the resume page, right? But then the portfolio page will only go to the portfolio if we go to that link. So this is where we're gonna use the React Router DOM. So what I'm gonna do is now we're gonna import that. So let's import, if I remember correctly, you do that, then a browser, come on, give me suggestions. There's nothing. So a browser router and switch and routes, browser router, switch, and routes. So I'm gonna rename this into as router, right? So browser router is router, switch and route. I haven't done this in a while. From React Router DOM. So let's save that, and then what we want to do is so the header and footer should always show, but they should be dependent on the link, right? So what we're going to do is this is the way you use it. So you have a router, close that, put whatever you want inside the router, Control X, Control V, and then you need a route for each of these. So inside the router, I'm gonna have our routes, a routes with a path equals to slash portfolio, and then let's have the portfolio in there. Control X, Control V, and then a routes with the path name of just slash, I guess. So by default it should be the resume page, right? Let's close that, enter, pop that in there. So I'm gonna press Control Shift F. So what I just did was I have another plugin called Prettier, and you can install, just search for Prettier, install it, and when you press Control Shift F, it's gonna format everything for you. So save that, and wait, we're kind of missing something. Oh, the switch, yeah. So you know how we have a switch case in JavaScript? It's the same thing here, a switch and case. So the route should be inside the switch, right? So we have a switch, move all of that in there. So we have a switch, right? And if the switch is in portfolio, so if the routes is portfolio, go in there, and if the routes is anything else, go in there. So let's save that, and let's see if we have an error. Let's let's go in there. Switch is not defined. Why? Oh, typo there. So switch, save. Let's go back here. Okay, so by default, it should be the resume. And if I go into portfolio, it should be the portfolio page, right? So, what else is there for? How long has it been? 20 minutes? Holy crap. All right, I guess I'm gonna end it here and then continue the next section.